How many times have you picked a stitch and then realized that you don't like it at the default setting? I want to show you how you can save your own stitch settings on the Viking Designer Epic. So for example, one of the things that I always do when I stitch out a blanket stitch, so here's one in menu B, that this stitch is one of those really heavy stitches, but if I like it to always be, instead of a stitch width of 3, maybe I'm always making it bigger, maybe 4 wide and 4 long, then I want to save that, and then I don't have to change it every time I sew. So you can come down to the save button. That's the little pink bubble in the cloud, and this way you can save that stitch. And you can save it more than once. So if you want it saved at one setting, one width, and then also at another, you can have multiple copies of that same stitch. Now it is going to give you a generic name, so we might actually give it a name that makes sense. So if we wanted to call it blanket, and this I made it at I think I made it 4.0. Okay, so then I would know that that one is going to be the wider one. The next thing you can do is see all these folders. These are the ones that I have saved from my embroidery part. So I don't want to mix up my stitches with those, because I actually have quite a few of them in here. But I went ahead and made a folder, which you can, and you can give it a name. Now if you actually give it with a number first, and I'm going to do a little test here, and give it we'll just call it test. But I put a number in front, and that test folder, I can go ahead and touch and hold. And then with that stitch, I can go ahead and save it, because I want to show you a couple different ones. So I might save it there. The other thing that I like to sometimes do, for example with this particular stitch, is notice that it's in the far right needle position. That's the default setting for this. But oftentimes I like to actually use this in the center needle position, not just the center needle, but that dot where the needle starts and also where the straight line is of the stitch. I like to line that up on the center of my foot. Have you noticed there's little red lines? So you could pick one of those red lines, and by touching the little toggle switch, this is how you can shift to move it to needle position. And I'll often move that needle all the way until it is lined up with my foot. So I can get it dialed in, and let's say that was the exact setting. Oh yeah, that's looking really good over there. Then I can save that stitch, same thing. It's still in my test folder I made. Let's call it blanket stitch. It wasn't 4.0, but we made it the other one. But how about center? And then that way I'll know that's the other one. So let's say you turn the machine off, you're coming back, and tomorrow, where are those stitches? How do you get to the ones that you are using? And especially too, if you're always going back and forth between a couple stitches, instead of running over here to this menu and selecting it and then running over here to the other menu and selecting it and then having to readjust it, if you save the stitches that you're doing, just like I'm showing with the right settings, the needle positions, into your memory, this here allows you, so there's my folder, my one test, I'm going to touch and hold, and here's my 2 stitches. So today, if I could go between these stitches, so yes, touch and hold, and then I can touch and hold this stitch, and that would bring it out each time. So and I can see the settings. So when I do touch it and hold it, I can see, okay, that's the one with the 4 millimeter, and then this is the one with the one moved to the center. Is you could line up all the stitches in the exact settings that you want them to be, and then they don't change back to the default setting just because you picked another stitch and left it. So I love saving stitches that I'm using or going between in the memory, and you can change stitch width, stitch length, needle position, and also technically tension and mirror image. So you can have some fun with all those settings, and it will keep it for you forever. Once you're done with them though, and forever is you're there, you can touch the trash can with one of those stitches selected, and it will delete it out just as easy.